Two. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice,
It's merchandise.
And I'm GJC.
and we are, as always, massive nerds. We have this probably just be a little mini episode, but
A
we've been
micro
talking so much
episode.
about a micro. If you want them microtransactions, this will be 99 cents on the App Store to download this episode. No,
But you gotta buy some Tim coin first. So you
yes.
gotta get the virtual modern nerd coinage first before you can do
You have to
anything.
buy slices of coins.
This is so coin. Literally just grinding it
And
off.
if you get 20 slices, that's one coin, and this is 99
Go
coins. So you
slurp.
really
Pay
got to grind.
$100 and you get 20% extra slice.
Yeah.
You get a slice
A
stack.
few
and you
extra
can
slivers.
Slice little things of the slice stack.
I love it.
Okay.
Um,
Oh god.
we have been talking about a lot of House of the Dragon and things of that nature, and general downers and stuff like that. So
It's good to have a laugh.
we're just kind of bring everyone. A lot of this is old news. A couple of these things are new news, and it's just we're gonna go into some Marvel and a little bit of DC things that have been announced and some trailers that came out. I think right off the bat, the thing that's freshest on most of our minds is going to be the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer just dropped, maybe a day or two ago.
Is that the full
And
title?
yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So it's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful.
I just call it Quantumania because
I think
even
most
that's a
people
mouthful,
will.
but it's
Just like most people call
easier.
it Civil War.
Yeah. It's we get everything they've told us we're gonna get. We get a look at I almost said Krang. Um, it's the Ninja Turtles. We get a look at Kang, and what I believe is a nice little fun piece in there is a look at the time chair, which I thought was cool. You can see a lot of these stills if you check out my Instagram, The Modern Nerd. I put them up there. They You get to see the quantum realm, you get to see the return of Michelle Pfeiffer, Hank Pym. You get to see all three, as you can see here. You get to see the three costumes, a little update to the Ant-Man costume,
You get
and
to
you get to
see
see
Bill
the
Murray.
Wasp. You get to see Bill Murray, who was like essentially is like gonna be the mayor of that little
Is
quantum
he
city.
is he
He's gonna have
a
a small
villain,
role.
or I'm curious as to
He's
what he's doing in this.
he's a
I
plot
don't know
device.
anything, so I'm
He's going to be an exposition device essentially to get through some scenes. He does not have a big role.
chances
The
of him
character that
being in
he's
any other Marvel films after this.
I doubt it.
Oh.
I doubt it.
This is
But it
the Jeff Goldblum moment.
yeah. You don't get a whole lot. This is really a lot of a teaser, you know. They got a different trailer at San Diego Comic-Con
They did?
last yeah, it was different than this one, and I think the overall of it was that one was way cooler in that it gave you a little bit more story and what the movie's going to be about, whereas all we get so much about this one is they go into the quantum realm and Kang proposes to them that he can give them more time and a way out. Not much else as to what the meat and potatoes is going to be, what the conflict is going to be, how Kang's going to come around. It is, you know what I mean, like all this stuff. So, you know, you see a little bit that Michelle Pfeiffer gives off that she's, you know, like, holy shit, what are you doing? We're going back there. You No, there's more to that than you think there is. So,
Mhm.
you know, there's some other bigger thing at
This-
play here. So
She came back with like freaky powers, you know?
yeah, which
Michelle
who knows
Pfeiffer.
if they're even going to
Whatever
discuss
she
that.
did with Ghost, she did have some kind of other thing where she picked up while she was in the quantum realm. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can maybe explain why she does that. Also,
They probably are just gonna be like, "What? What are you talking about?" No, no, she had no, no powers. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Yeah.
There's been so many things if you really look at it where they're like, "What are you talking about? That never happened. Shut up. Let's keep going."
Yeah.
Which is, I don't care. You know,
I'm so used to it. Like it's just so typical that you're just like it's not even a thing anymore.
yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, trying to explain Cap's time travel. Like, stop, just keep going. It doesn't matter. I'm excited for this one. You know, it's like a solid year away. November 2020. 3. Again, I'm in the UK, so when I see it, it's the UK trailer. And so when they put the date up, it's written day, month, year. So I'm still like, I'm like, what the fuck? There's no 22nd month. Right, right. Got it. It still takes me a second
Dakota
to
clap.
figure that shit out. Yeah, it's really annoying. Um, but I've liked the last two Ant-Man movies. You
I'm
know, they're fun, you know, but and there's not a huge stake necessarily in either of them that really, I mean, they're impactful. They have an impact a little bit on the overall universe. This one obviously is going to have a little bit more of an impact 'cause it's introducing the next big bad, but like I think it's going to still be fun. You know, you still have Paul Rudd in your movie. It's not going to be like some serious drama the whole time. So
Maybe,
I
but remember, this is
it's
a Phase 4 Marvel movie, dude.
yeah, it's still going to be. I'm excited
no,
for
it's
this
not the
one.
Phase 4 Marvel. The
Yeah,
first one of Phase 5
oh, that's
Oh.
true. Phase 4 comes to an end next
after
month.
Wakanda.
Yeah, Wakanda is the
Oh,
last one of Phase 4.
my
So
apologies.
it just kicks off Phase 5. Actually, I will say this. I'm also excited to see
Maybe
they 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 chose to recast and bring in Catherine Newton, who's like kind of a big swinger or a big like in the big league. In the sense that she's like one of the more recognizable younger actresses because she's been on like hit television shows on HBO and she was in Detective Pikachu and she's so it's interesting
That's right.
they chose to find someone they had to recast or they chose to recast, you know, um after Endgame. So I'm curious to
Yeah.
see how she does being put in a situation where it's a kind of a character that is already established. Obviously there's an age growth from the little girl we saw in the previous Ant movies to compare to now, but also
All we
like
got in Endgame was like a hug.
a
You know what I mean?
hug,
That's
right,
the
or two,
only
and that was it,
character in there
right?
we got.
So, yeah, I'm curious to see what she does with this character, especially because she also has lived 4 years without her dad, and like
Yeah.
what that means for her character Cassie as like a woman. Yeah, and also I'm curious to see Scott kind of like now that he's famous and people know who he is, like how he deals with that and the money issue, which is obviously you see now he doesn't have that problem anymore. Aside from having I'm assuming a still successful side business in security, he's like attending red carpets apparently now. So he's like a full blown celebrity, and so is she, obviously. So that's
It's
kind of
still
cool. It's
funny.
kind of interesting. It's kind of surreal, also, you know, like but realistic because he has like a podcast and a book deal and all this other stuff now. So I mean, he might as well be making money off of it, I guess.
Yeah.
There's that layer of like weird reality of like Marvel merch meets like Marvel like meta-ness that now has been crossed, especially with like She-Hulk and also with like even Miss Marvel and like fandom. Like the idea that there's like Marvel fans inside the MCU universe, you know, is like a very meta concept that they just introduced into the MCU within the last the last phase, because even though people didn't know who Iron Man was and stuff like that, like very little aside from like it didn't seem like there was a lot of fandom around it aside from just being known as celebrities. Now you're like, wow, there's fucking merch. There's even rip-off merch. There's like there's like podcasts that they're
Launchers.
doing. There's like book deals that they're doing. Like it's what you would expect, I guess, of a modern celebrity. But it's interesting to see how like Scott. I would like to see how he juggles all that. You know. So
Yeah. It's
I,
it's interesting because
I like
it
her
looks like they're
haircut too,
going
by the
with
way.
they're
What's her name?
they're
Evangeline
going
Lilly.
with they're going with Stinger as
Yes.
Cassie's alias, whereas she originally was Stature,
Yeah,
where
the
she would
tall one.
grow,
Yeah.
and now it looks like
But
she's
from
going
the
more in line with everything else to keep it a
well,
little bit more even with everybody shrinks, which is fine. I got no problem with that. I
from the
think
looks of it, though, she
it works.
it's not like she has an issue going big either.
Does she? Do we see her big in this?
Well, I mean, like I assume her like I mean, if Scott can do it, I assume she can. Is my you know what I'm
I would
saying? The
not assume
technology
that
is
at
the same.
all. the
technology
technology is,
isn't
but
the
it
same.
still takes a toll on your body.
Right, but I'm not saying like
Going
if
big,
Scott
you
can do it,
black
why
out the
can't
first
she?
couple times.
My
I would
question.
I assume nothing at this point. Um, yeah, it looks cool. Visually, it was a cool trailer. Um, wait, I want to see the second trailer, see how that looks. Gives us
What's the name of
a little
Kang's
bit more of a
actor?
look. Jonathan Majors.
Oh my god, have you seen his
Did you
workout
see
plan?
him in Creed
His
3?
freaking workout plan.
Kang got ripped, dude.
Yeah, Kang's workout
Ripped.
plan, man. Jesus Christ.
That's the first thing I said. I was like, "Oh,
Holy
Kang got ripped."
moly. Jesus Christ. If he's gonna kick Scott Lang's ass.
I think he's gonna crush it from an acting standpoint.
He is gonna
we
kick
might-
Scott Lang's ass.
I think we might finally get like a true like good villain in
Yeah.
the Marvel franchise.
And also
I'm excited for that.
I would not be surprised if we saw more than one version of Kang in this movie.
Oh, that's always
right.
A
Like I'm
possibility.
expecting that actually.
I'm not.
I kind of okay. So there's a weird scene. I don't know if you guys saw in the trailer or poked it out or or scoped it out. There's that weird scene where it's like Kang, but like they're looking over an army full of people wearing like the same colored suits, and I was like, are those other Kangs? You know, like a Kang army.
They're not Kang.
Okay, all right.
That would not work.
What
the whole thing with Kang is he's the conqueror and it's killed a bunch of other versions of himself.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you had like a Kang, like army of Kangs.
No.
Also, like Clone Wars. I don't know. Whatever.
Kangs don't take orders from other Kangs.
Okay. All right.
And actually, that's very evident in some of the earlier Young Avengers stuff because you get Iron Lad, who I don't think we're gonna get. Which is
no, you
fine.
don't think so? I thought they were gonna make what's his face Iron Lad.
I don't think we need an Iron Lad at this point because we're getting Iron Heart. So it really that's gonna fill the Iron Man thing. Iron Lad was never really an Iron Man. He's an spoiler, an alternate version of Kang, a younger alternate version of Kang the Conqueror who goes against what that Kang has to say and has some type of thing and it becomes so it's a whole thing.
Bad. I would have liked to see that play out, but there's too much happening as it is. So
there are 9 already introduced Young Avengers, including Cassie Lang. Like so many.
9,
you've got a full roster.
That's pretty cool.
You keep going at this rate, you can have an Avengers Endgame level amount of Young Avengers without the original cast.
We should do a video
to because you can just hand it off. We can.
You should do a video of all the one and just like talk a little bit about every single one.
We'll do a montage video.
Yeah,
with a lot
montage video. It'd be like and you can inform the viewers about a little background about all the Young Avengers.
The other trailer that we got recently was the Marvel special presentation Guardians of the Galaxy's Christmas special, which is like
the thing I did not ask for. I'm walking away.
It looks ridiculous. And
it's
just a fun romp and a stupid.
Groot.
It's one of those 55-minute long mini movies.
And Groot.
They'll probably have some mini little end scene that'll have an impact on the story, but it just looks like it's just like an in between there and like when we last saw them and when we now see them. Just fill in that little blank for fun. Ooh, just punched my microphone.
You know what it was? They were like, okay, we hired these guys to work X amount of days on Thor, Love and Thunder, and there's some leftover days. What were we gonna do with them? Yeah. And they're like, oh man, let's make it like a 1 hour Christmas special with them. And they're they're obligated to work this amount of time anyway. So
remember that one reference we made in Guardians 1? Oh. Let's make a story around that, which honestly
it's just like Rogue One all over again.
we get one of the beginning of the end of our James Gunn run in the MCU. He's introducing us. He is putting Kevin Bacon in the MCU, and which is cool. But at the same time, we no longer have Kevin Bacon that can be an actor as a character.
Who says
MCU.
That?
Sure they can.
Sure they can. Are you kidding me?
That is fixed with one line of dialogue, dude.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh played 2 characters already in MCU.
Yeah, but does one of them actually count?
Mm.
No, it does not. Look at that mug, George. That is a classy mug you got right there,
And I
sir.
got it just for you.
An old school style right there. Um, it says Alpha Graphics. It
Still
was
holds
given
up.
to
It's
him
thick.
by
It holds
me.
a full mug. A
The
lot of
Gemma
tea.
Chan. Who did Gemma Chan played two characters? Who?
In Humans, and then she also played it in Captain Marvel.
Uh, that's fair.
Yeah, Captain Marvel.
Yeah. All right, that's fair. All right. Hey, yeah, but that's two characters. That's not like
I'm
that's
saying
not
it's
like
just
Gemma Chan in one of them and then someone else in the second one. This
well,
is
no,
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin
Anyway,
Bacon, and then Kevin Bacon as an alien. There you go. Paint
there you
him
go.
blue
Look,
or purple or whatever
it's
color of the rainbow, orange. I don't care.
am I like
Kevin Bacon.
overly excited about this and like
He
cheering
can
for it? No, but am I going to watch it? Yes, it's going to be fun. It's just going to be a
he can
ridiculous
also play
time
multiverse
waster.
Kevin Bacon, where in another multiverse Kevin Bacon is not Kevin Bacon.
Bring him back as oh shit, what was his name? Sebastian Shaw. He was a good Sebastian Shaw in X-Men First Class.
Interesting.
I thought that was an interesting character. That being said, there is, speaking of X-Men characters, there was a big gigantic piece of news that was announced a while back that we never got a chance to talk about. So this is old news and it'll go by quickly, but there has been an official announcement that Hugh Jackman is coming back as Wolverine for Deadpool 3, which I think is absolutely just, I mean,
Hilarious.
come on. Like this is it perfect. If this is the only thing we get that he gets to do again, 100% okay with it, because honestly, this is all anyone has ever asked for, is these two to have a crossover event.
They have had the longest standing fake Twitter feud of like any two Marvel actors. It is
It's quite
it is
funny.
got it has reached
It is good.
like if I'm aware of it, you know it's famous.
Yeah.
And now that this is happening, it's to say it's been a long time coming and then it's all coming to fruition is like the understatement of the century. It's very exciting and holy crap, I can't believe it's happening, dude. I really didn't think it was gonna happen, and here we are. It's happening, and holy crap, I feel like they're gonna be so good together on screen, and we're gonna get some real.
I can't
classic.
even like. It's like part of
gonna
me
go
is like
unfathomable.
I can't even
gonna-
imagine how
hold
it's
on,
going to
hold on,
turn
hold on,
out.
Jordan.
Honestly,
I am doing this first. I'm gonna go with George's favorite line. I called it. I knew it was gonna happen. I'm just doing that so George can't say it.
well, I
said
didn't
first.
know this was going to
So, no,
happen.
you can't have it. No,
I know. I'm not. I wouldn't
I
say that
didn't-
because I didn't think this would
No,
happen. To
this
be
was-
honest, and
yeah.
I'm like the reason why I didn't think this was going to happen was like I just didn't know how the scenario would play out. Like because his character, like one character is so, and the other character is so like, and how did.
So
how can they
little
exist
just
in the
said, but we
same
understand
reality?
Exactly what he said.
You know, like how can these two characters who are so like seems like they're from totally different places and come together and exist in one singular place?
Is
Focus.
Cable gonna be in this too?
Dan,
Like,
focus.
There you go.
is I want to know if Cable is gonna be in this too.
I hope so.
Josh Brolin.
It was look, is it Deadpool 2 exists, and I was it fun?
I like
Yeah.
Deadpool.
Was it
I like
was
I
it
like
amazing?
Deadpool too. I like Deadpool too.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. Yeah, just like
I also
everybody
hope
else.
they bring back Marina Baccarin.
Sure.
Mm.
Well,
Mhm.
I mean, that would be an interesting one because she's technically becomes Death, which I think is super fascinating because then you start to get like Deathpool, where she gets it's the whole like Deadpool mythos is weird and wild, and
Either way,
I'm not even yeah,
I'm
but plus it was a really fun little vignette that they did together where he's like just sitting there talking.
what are the
and he's like, "La, la,
chances?
hey Hugh, you want to be Wolverine again? Yeah, sure." And he's
Fucking
just like,
What
reading
are
a
the chances
newspaper or
though?
some
He's
shit.
like
yeah,
it's like Colossus
good.
is there. Like he's so I'm assuming he's like coming in from like via like Colossus route, right? Like at the mansion,
I mean, they all were in, a bunch of them were in Deadpool too. So, you know, like little like mini cameos. So they exist
inside that
now.
mansion.
Every one of those characters, once this crossover happens, theoretically exist in the MCU, because that's
crazy.
interesting. And you know, we'll get into that whole thing after a little bit more, probably after.
It's so hard to
Forever,
imagine
because Namor has been Namor's been announced as officially, other than the little mini thing they did with Miss Marvel, but he's a mutant. He has officially been stated that he is a mutant in this movie. So and he's always been credited throughout the history of comic books as the first mutant. You know, his from when he became a mutant and existed was pre any of the Charles Xavier and all them. He was around and alive before they mutated. So he's the first mutant. So that'll be a whole interesting thing that they're gonna do after that. I'm curious to see how all of this kind of ties together. Plus, just to keep us moving along and chugging forward, of introducing characters, I read today, and this is unconfirmed, but I told Dan this. I don't know if George was sitting around for this one. They are supposedly announcing that they will be bringing in Silver Surfer via one of these Marvel special presentations, which they are now going to start using as a way to introduce minor characters who don't necessarily warrant a full television show or a full-length feature movie, but they'll get the budget kind of a movie, but more the length of a show. So they're making these little mini things. The first one was Werewolf by Night, and the second one being the Christmas special, which is just more of a platform for them to kind of, I feel like it's a cheap dig at like themselves and their at Disney's previous Christmas specials from the 80s.
If a Wookiee doesn't show up, I'm going to be extremely disappointed.
But yeah, so Silver Surfer is going to come around because we already know there's a Fantastic Four, so they'll introduce that, which I think if they do introduce someone like the Silver Surfer is a great way to segue out of Kang and into Galactus to do the really super slow build like they did with Thanos, you know, and we're getting that slow build with Kang, but Kang is taking a bit more of a forefront, you know, whereas like you drop Silver Surfer here and there, and then you don't talk about him for a while, and then you drop a little hint of Galactus, and then you don't talk about it for a while, and then you give us,
and then you give us Doom,
Galactus, like you did with
and then you give
Thanos.
us Fantastic Four.
So we're gonna get a lot coming up in the future, but I think that's an interesting way for them to kind of use a nice little platform for them to use for other characters and stuff. So, you know, that way we don't have to like, you know, sit there and debate, well, was it worth watching 8 episodes of Moon Knight? Was it worth watching, you know, a whole series of Hawkeye? And like, you know, you can just 55 minutes, one and done, see you later, and be like, cool, that character exists now, move on, and we get to see him in a movie. Because that's all half of these are, is this character exists, wait for them on the big screen. So some of them better than others. The last bit, because that one wasn't as revelation, the last bit was this announcement over shifting into the DC world, and we'll talk about Black Adam next week because I've seen it. Dan hasn't. George won't, so it'll be me and Dan. But the other news is previously mentioned James Gunn, and I don't remember his name, something Laska, Paul Laska, someone that James Gunn has produced a lot with in his career. He's like his co-producer on a lot of things that in James Gunn's career have officially been announced to take over what they are calling DC Studios, kind of like Marvel Studios. And what that's going to encompass is DC movies, whether that's live action or animated, and television, also live action and animated. So you got two guys that are going to be running essentially 4 different aspects of DC universe that are going to be on the sort of picture medium, you know, the movie TV medium, where you got animated being something separate and live action being something separate for television and movies. So things are happening in DC. And am I hopeful? No.
Oh,
I'm not. And I there's just a lot
Whoa.
It's because they're not wiping the slate clean. They're not saying let's start over. It's still limping along. Did you hear the announcement that Ben Affleck has also like said I will be doing a trilogy of Batman movies? Like they're just yeah, like this
Oh
was
my
announced not
God,
official
dude.
necessarily, but like these are the
Look,
strong rumors that are happening. So they're just
I don't mind that, but also like what the fuck? Like
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't care who is in charge because you're just limping along with the same shit. You're not fixing the problem, you're treating the symptom. You need to not treat the symptom, you need to fix the fucking cause.
What they
And
should
that's
do,
recast everybody and move
well,
on.
what they should do is just build their whole entire DC universe around one man.
Don't don't say it. Say it, George.
John Cena.
Oh, well, that'd be a lot better than probably what they're gonna do.
John Cena, dude.
So
Just build it off of that one show. Honestly, because of that one show, I have actually probably more faith than Tim. That show's freaking amazing. So,
look, did I like the cast of the last group? Sure. I don't really have. I mean, obviously, we're not going to have Ezra Miller anymore, and I mean, at this point, who knows if Ray Fisher will even want to come back? I don't think he should, to be honest. But like, you know, I mean, Henry Cavill, is he my favorite Superman? No, not necessarily. Was he good? Yeah. Ben Affleck, again, favorite? No. Do I have
Superman
a
is
big
hard. I don't picture anyone doing that much better of a job, to be honest.
Yeah, it for me it's hard because there was again, I know I harp on this a lot. But
Are you gonna say Christopher Reeve, dude? Because Christopher
no,
Reeve was time. What are you gonna say?
well, kind of. But if you there's a GQ thing that came out with Kevin Smith talking about his views on Superman and Batman and all the people that have played them throughout the time. Um, and it's not so much for me about how they play Superman as how they play Clark Kent because
Hmm.
Superman is the person. Superman is the norm for that character, and Clark Kent is the costume. Clark Kent is the other version. Nick Cage should have shot that
you're
Superman.
Sentinel.
No way. No
Sentinel.
way. I would have watched that Tim Burton Nick
Pink
Cage movie.
laser beams in your eyes.
If you haven't watched the documentary, The Superman That Was or Almost Was, definitely watch it. I forgot what it was called, but it's about that Tim Burton Nick Cage Superman
Right.
movie that almost happened. But it is for me more about how they portray yes Superman, but Clark Kent because look at like Henry Cavill's Clark Kent. He was a little bit more well put together, a little bit more credible as a writer, as a person, and Clark historically has been a little bit more of that nerdy kind of bumbling kind of character. That's the extra character that you're building, that you're creating, is how Superman sees humans. How he tries to fit in is Clark Kent.
That's a
That's the
very
duality of
interesting.
it.
That's a very interesting take on Superman, though.
I mean, that's the other part about like Batman is like and it was really interesting. The point was like if you watch the 1989 Batman and you look at Michael Keaton, in every single scene he is when he's uh, 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 Bruce, he's distracted. He's aloof. He's not focused on what's happening as Bruce Wayne because he doesn't give a shit about Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is not who he sees himself as. He sees himself as Batman. So, you look at like Christian Bale's Bruce Wayne, where you can tell that he's being pompous and putting on a show and acting and pretending when he
Mm-hmm.
really doesn't give a shit about Bruce Wayne. But like, the differences in those two characters are super, super interesting because Superman puts a lot of time and thought into being Clark Kent, and Bruce gives way more time and thought into being Batman than Bruce.
I
It's
wonder how
super
you've.
interesting the way those two play together,
I
and that's what makes it interesting. That was my problem with Zack Snyder is they were the exact same character when they were not in costume. And you can't do that because there's nothing interesting about Superman as Clark Kent. I'm not interested. I don't give a
That's
fuck about
interesting that
his
you say
reporting
that.
thing.
What
It's
is your
just
take? Then what is your take on like the concept of, I know this is not exactly Superman, then what is your take on the concept of like how Smallville plays out and how like Superman and Lois plays
see,
out on television?
so I don't watch Superman and Lois, but Smallville was interesting. One, because of the time it came out in, you could be campy
Right. It
and all
was
that stuff because it was the first
WB.
one. But it was it was Superman, Clark coming to terms with being both trying to accept being a human and the son of Jonathan Kent and Martha, and learning how to integrate into society as a normal person, but dealing with the fact that he has to learn that he's not human. He grew up human,
Right.
and then suddenly he's like, "I'm not human." Like, what are you talking about? And like the duality of that, I thought was
Right.
one of the most interesting concepts for a show. Did it work every single season? Definitely not. But I think for the most part, it was a better introspective look at that character than a lot of anything
This is
else really other did.
this is
I
the
think the Brandon
funny
Routh one was terrible as well.
this is the
That's
interesting
why I
thing
like Christopher
about,
Reeves. Sorry.
I know this is often compared, all right? I know this is often let's just put it out there. A lot of people have compared the story of Superman to that of Jesus Christ, right? And the fact of the matter is, like, because he's like a godly figure, right? And like in all of, Superman is a singular like hero even amongst a pantheon of superheroes. That's why they're called superheroes, is because of him, right? So like he has that kind of stature. And what's interesting is like the gap between when he becomes like, and that's what Smallville fills out, and that's what I think different movies have tried to fill in too, is the gap between when he's Clark Kent as a child to when he becomes Superman. And that middle gap and the difference of that transition makes all the difference as to how you play Clark Kent. Do you understand what I'm saying? Every one of them has a different origin story, and that's why there's that subtlety of difference of how you play Clark Kent. By seeing Henry Cavill's story, you realize why he is Clark Kent the way he is. Also, he the way he loses his dad, all those things, right? Like,
But every version loses their dad in some weird,
in
tragic way.
some weird tragic
So,
way, right? So I just feel like because we
but
get to see how that plays out differently with for a lot of them, there's a different version for, I mean, like, even for like the Christopher Reeves one, we get to see that in the first one a little too, but he's not as much.
a little bit.
Yeah, he's like, the thing is like my idea is that like Clark wasn't always a nerdy person in his youth, quote unquote. He wasn't that Clark Kent, quote unquote, like bumbling fool persona. At least not what I envisioned
Right.
at growing up. Right? Even in the Christopher Reeve one, when he goes back to his hometown in that second or third one with
Yeah.
and meets Lana, and Lana sees that picture of him and says, "Look at that! Like, you look totally different than you do now because you're like with glasses and you're like, you know, like even she kind of like points out to that picture and it's like, wow, you've changed a lot." Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that's because he has to be he has to be the exact opposite of Superman for it to be believable.
for it to be
Otherwise,
believable. Right.
otherwise it's like, yeah, of course that football player could be Superman because it's
I understand this.
yeah.
I have to say that though, I think the subtlety has more to do with those a lot to do with those preliminary years of him transitioning from like Kid Clark to like full grown Superman. And what's missing in that gap sometimes is that's the fun story about Superman in many ways, right? Like,
We'll see
how you fill in
this
that
plays
gap.
out. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen here? So, a lot's happened in the world of DC. A lot's happened and is going to be continuing to happen in Marvel, and we are going to come here and talk about it every chance we
So
get
when are
because
we going to
that's what we
see
do.
Superman in the MCU?
What?
When are we going to see Superman in the MCU?
Who knows?
In our lifetime, just like I didn't think Wolverine and Deadpool would ever going to happen. I'm going to call it now. Superman in the MCU. I'm calling it now. 40 years from now, when we're doing this podcast, you guys are going to remember this day. October 27th,
They did
2022.
a crossover in the 90s, and it was It exists. They did 2 of them, and they
He's gonna
are
pick up
there.
Thor's hammer and use it and swing it around.
It's a whole thing. Check it out. We are going to be going live. Okay, depending on is I guess this is for Sentinel and whoever else is watching. We're going to be doing live tomorrow night, which is going to be the 28th of October. I guess tomorrow afternoon for those of you back in the US. We're going to be doing a Halloween special, which
Oh,
is
we
going to go
are?
off the rails in every way. Yeah, we are. We're doing
That was
both. We
my
talked about this.
idea.
Yes, and so we're going to be talking about horror movies,
I
movies that
didn't
we
mean
want to watch on Halloween because they are
George
very different.
George is going to talk about his Halloween episodes of TV. Tim's going to talk about Halloween movies, and I'm going to talk about horror movies.
Well,
I
actually,
got a
that kind of
long
works
list.
out.
I've got a long
Okay.
list of just horror movies too. I've been going and doing some crazy research. So
All right.
so tune in. It's if you don't have a chance to watch us live, we will be Sunday the what is that going to be? The 30th is when it's going to go air. So Halloween Eve, I'm going to put that episode up. And if you've enjoyed this, check out the rest of our
This
stuff.
is Halloween.
We're going to have some shorter episodes. We're going to have some longer episodes. And we're going to try and get some more content coming to you. I'm going to a comic convention in London here over the weekend. So expect a little bit content from that. We're going to really try and diversify this here channel and get you guys some more content so you can really enjoy yourselves in a more edible capacity. Take it in and then walk away. So if you've enjoyed this, we have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.